An accident has been a bad place.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. The time is 7:30. We're at the Marlborough Public School Committee meeting, and I call the meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone that we are being live taped by WMCT-TV, and we are streamed as well. So having said that, let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. So can everyone rise? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So moving on to presentations. We have the Marlborough Education Foundation grant presentations. So if you'd like to come up to the podium, state who you are and what this wonderful foundation is all about.
Hi, everybody. I'm Valerie Cowan, the president of the Marlborough Education Foundation. This is Mike Brossi, our vice president, Ayako Barnum, our treasurer, our
Could I just
clerk.
have you come up to the microphone so people can hear you at home? Thank you.
Sorry, do I have to repeat all that?
No, is your green light on?
Yes.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, is it working now?
We can hear you, but the people at home need to hear you. That's why the microphone
Oh,
is there.
okay. So I'm Valerie Cowan, the president of the Marlborough Education Foundation, and this is Mike Brossi, our vice president, Ayako Barnum, our clerk. Michelle Biden-Henninger is also a member of the foundation, and she's one of the founding members of the foundation. And Heidi is also, is Heidi here?
Yeah.
Hi, Heidi. Yeah, and Heidi has also been on the foundation. We were started in 1997. Actually, Michelle and a mutual friend of ours, a man named Brian Feeney, started the foundation. And since then, these grants this year bring us up to 213 grants we have awarded to the schools, with a total dollar amount of over $237,000. Wow. So we've really tried to help as much as we can. And this year, we awarded 6 grants for a total of $8,354 to 6 different teachers. I think we have grants to every school except ECC this year. So the first one is $600, and I apologize if I don't pronounce some of your last names correctly. $600 to Danielle Sicatel at Whitcomb School to purchase various materials to enhance the Student Restorative Center at the school, of which actually we funded the Student Restorative Center last year. And so now, then the next one is $1,975 for Kibo Robotics coding kits for the elementary schools. This is K through 5. They're teaching the kids how to code in the innovation labs. And I kept saying that astounds me. Michelle kept telling me to get over it. Digital age right now, but I think teaching first and second and kindergartners to code is amazing. We're actually, the grant is for the elementary schools innovation labs. Allison Hathaway of Jarwick School wrote this, but actually these robotics coding kits are going to all the elementary schools. That's awesome. So that's great. The next grant goes to Nicole Carriere, and it's for a digital media, who's a digital media teacher at Whitcomb. And it's a grant of $1,861 for 4 professional digital single lens reflex cameras for the 8th grades.
That's
awesome. The next grant goes to Chris Como, who could not be here tonight. He's a physics teacher at the high school, and this is a grant of $1,500 for low-cost multi-sensor devices that will wirelessly interface with the students' Chromebooks in the classrooms at Marlborough High. So, Danielle, maybe, Nicole, just pop that in the watch it one ring. The next grant also goes to Whitcomb, and it is for $1,803 to Mark Rodriguez for no CO2 launching systems for the dragsters that they build and test, the Transportation Technology Unit of the Environmental Learning Curriculum.
Repeat offender.
Keeps doing good work, so. And the last grant goes to Emily Meehan at Marlborough High. It's for $613 for flexible seating and sensory materials for the Therapeutic Learning Center and the Learning and Functional Environment programs for undergraduate and postgraduate students at the high school. And I have the check for Matthew. Is Matthew Wells here?
Yes.
This is our check to cover those grades, Matthew. You're welcome. So that's our grant year for this year. So look for us again next December. So we have a fundraiser coming up. It's a March Madness fundraiser where you buy a square on a 100-square grid, and then you can win multiple times in the basketball games that are played in March Madness, depending on what digit you get assigned to that for the scores in the basketball games. So that'll be coming up. That'll be on the website. And we look forward to seeing everybody again next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay. We're moving on to committee discussions directives. So the Superintendent Search Committee follow-up. So the Director of Human Resources.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. So I'm Patty Brown, the HR Director for Marlborough Public Schools, and I have an update for everybody for how we're doing with the superintendent search since the meeting last Wednesday. A lot was accomplished in a short amount of time.
Good.
So I'll give you an update first on the number of applicants, and then we'll talk about the formation of the committee, and then the timeline. So we had, the deadline was the 27th of September for the applicants to submit applications. We received 11 applications for a superintendent, and 2 are internal, the rest are external. The search committee is almost fully formed now. I can confirm members that I know of as of this moment. Denise Ryan, Dan Caruso, and Catherine Hennessy from the school committee that were appointed last meeting on Wednesday, and then Angela House is the principal at Whitcomb. Mary Murphy, Superintendent Murphy, was charged with finding administrator, and she did. And then the MEA was to appoint a teacher, and they that I know of at this moment is Francesca Scott, the mathematics teacher at the high school. And then the other committee member from the number of committee members that you chose the last time was a parent representative. And Mayor Dumas and Vice Chair Michelle Bodenhedinger chose that parent representative today. It's Mark Finicaro. So those are the members I know as of this moment. There's a hand up.
I mean, are you all set, or we have open up
gonna
for
go over the
questions and comments and things of that
Timeline
nature?
after that, but are there
Yeah.
any questions and comments to this point?
Why don't she just finish her presentation, then we can discuss, because we have to vote on it, I would
Okay.
assume. So,
Okay, so I can proceed? Okay.
thank you.
So we have
Not
3
in
meetings
action items
planned
tonight.
with the 6 individuals I just named, the first 2 weeks in February. And given that, we should be able to be on track to bring finalists forward to this committee by the end of February, early March. That's the point.
Okay, thank you. Open up to questions. Ms. Matthews.
I guess it's not a question, but when we discussed last week establishing the committee, Mrs. Brown's original recommendation was for 5 members on the committee. We asked for a change to have 3 school committee members, which left us with an even number of votes on the committee. And I'm asking that we change that to an odd number by adding a second MEA representative, which I have been given another name by Mr. Thomas for that committee. But again, I think it needs a vote by the committee to change the format of the committee. So I would ask for a suspension of the rules to vote on adding a 7th member of the search committee.
I would second that.
Okay. What we need to do is to
Suspend the
motion to
rules.
suspend the
Suspend the
rules.
rules.
Right, second the
Yeah.
suspension.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, sorry.
So is there any questions, comments, concerns regarding the suspension of the rules? Seeing none. All in favor?
No, we don't have to do a roll
Yes.
call.
Okay.
Okay, now a motion to allow a 7th member being an MEA representative for the search committee.
And I would also second that.
Motion on the table to add a 7th member to the committee. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none.
I just have one question. How many members did we have last time, do you recall?
I think we also had 3 school committee members. We had a teacher. Well, we had two MEA members the last time, so we would have had.
We had a lot. We had more.
We would have had 2 MEA members last time, so we would have wound up with 7 total.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that they.
Because there were
I'm not overly concerned
co-presidents.
about the number because it's not like a final decision. But I understand why we're doing this. But it's not like I can see if like they're the final decision to one person, but they're just going to nominate the final few candidates. But
Well, and if I remember correctly, I feel like it was making sure that we had, like, say, a person representing more, say, like an elementary area as well as then a secondary kind of level, if I remember correctly. And maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but.
Yeah, the MEA had two presidents, and one was representative of the elementary level and the other was representative of the secondary
They were
level.
both on the committee.
Just
Yep.
because of the way their makeup
Sure.
of their unit.
Yeah, that's why.
This is
One was
middle
elementary,
and
one was
high.
high school.
Yeah.
This is middle and high.
Okay, I just was curious.
are we good? Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding? Speak now. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carries. So we
So
will have-
you know who the 7th person is now.
It's Heather Calatoni.
That's it.
Heather Calatoni.
Tony. So, and she's from Whitcomb.
Yes.
So we'll have one
Whitcomb
from the high
middle
school
school
and one
teacher.
from Whitcomb.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything
Okay.
else?
Thank you.
While Ms. Brown is here.
So did you say that you have meetings scheduled already, or?
We do, yes.
Okay.
Um,
And the committee's all aware of that?
The committee's
Except
all
for
aware of that.
Heather, since we
Except for
just
Heather,
elected
who was just appointed. And I do have dates for those, those meetings will be warned.
Okay.
Do we have any anticipated date of when recommendation is coming to the full committee, or hope for it?
Would be the end
Early
of February. You have a meeting at the last week in
last-
February, and then you also have a meeting in March. So will be one of those 2 meetings. If you want to know the dates that I've scheduled, so now, right now, I can tell you what those dates are.
Sure.
February 5th, February 7th, and February 11th.
5, 2, 7, 2, 11.
Okay.
And 2, 5 will be start in open session.
2-5 will start an open session, yes, at
and
5
then go
p.m.
into
Yep.
executive session after the questions have been
Yes,
developed.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for all the parents that did reach out who wanted to be part of this search. It's much appreciated. There was a lot of great feedback. It's nice when the community steps up to the plate and wants to help out the schools. So thank you for all of everyone that did do that. And and to the committee. So it's a big task. And okay, moving on. If there's anything else? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mayor Christian. I included in my January report an update on student enrollment, the district enrollment, because we are still increasing month to month. Not drastic amounts, but we did exceed, we're over 4,800 students currently enrolled as of, well, I think it was last Friday. And I also included the elementary class size chart. One of the things that we've been looking at is some of the class sizes across the district. I know that Goodnow has been trying to keep with the 6 sections across the board, mainly because it allows them to not have so many small groups out in the breakout areas that are designed for more flexible grouping. Kane School, Assistant Superintendent O'Brien and I met with Principal Pantazopoulos earlier today. There will be a projected need for an additional first grade section next year, based on the fact that there are 5 kindergarten sections and only 4 currently first grade. That request we are putting aside and putting it, reserving some of our state funds that are designated for Kane School because of the large migrant population that they're serving this year. So we'll be able to do that without a budget impact, but it's just something that I want the committee to be aware of, that we're looking at these numbers.
Can I just ask a question? Through the chair. Do we have space? I mean, will the kindergarten go down a section
We
to
don't
free up a
know about
classroom?
that right now. The only space that they would have would be, once again, similar to the other buildings, is the doubling or the tripling up of breakout rooms, so EL services happening in combined spaces, special ed services happening in shared spaces, those type of things. Potentially, music or art, being on a cart. Those are the only options we're at at any of our elementary schools. One of the things that I'm looking at my calendar is that I'd love to offer building tours to both school committee members and city council members of our elementaries and Whitcomb School, if desired, both during the day and at night, because we know not everyone's available during the day. The principals would love people to be toured through when there are students in the building, so that we can see what every space is being used for. There is concern that we will continue to increase before we are able to build anything in the city that will help with the overcrowding situation, especially at the elementaries. And we don't even have places to put modulars in many of our schools, so, yeah.
Is that something where, just to make sure that our city councilors know, that we really make some kind of a formal invitation?
A formal invitation with dates, times, and buildings.
Yeah.
That is in the process. Mrs. Sibilio and I have been looking at calendars and trying to, I've already talked to the principals about it, but I will designate different times, both AM and PM, on multiple days, hoping that we can get people to actually see what's going on in the school, how we have maximized our space, how closets are being used, et cetera,
Yeah,
throughout.
no, thank you. That's fantastic news.
I did want to update, I'm sorry that Mr. Thomas is not here tonight because I asked permission for the two of us to share this news. We have building advisory committees that were added, not this current contract, but the prior one, to our teachers' contract. And the whole goal of that was to give additional voice in decisions and problem solving in each of the buildings. During this last cycle of negotiations, we came as a joint interest to try to improve and grow these committees, and we think that they're all started as on a positive path this year. We started the year with Mr. Thomas and I doing a joint presentation to all members of the Building Advisory Committee. And currently, Mr. Thomas and I have been rotating through a number of the Building Advisory Committees, just sitting in, giving support if anyone asks. So just a brief update on the status of something we're excited about. And we think that together we have created systems that hopefully will work together to solve any building-based problems and to continue to grow a positive culture.
I have another question,
Yeah.
sorry. So using the interest-based bargaining techniques that we do in negotiations, was it helpful? I mean, do you feel?
Very helpful,
Okay.
because it's the beginning of identifying the issue and then telling the story and then agreeing. And many times members of the Building Advisory Committee are saying, that's an individual issue, let's meet separately to discuss that. Or, yes, this is a great building-based issue, and let's be creative on how we look at solving it. For example, drop off or pick up at the elementary schools is a long-term, but it can be, let's try this first, and if that doesn't work, then we'll go to this next option. So they're really like problem-solving together. It's really exciting to watch.
Awesome. Great, thank you.
Safe routes to school update. Later tonight, Mr. Wells will be presenting some information regarding the FY26 bus bids. We will be, as part of that discussion throughout the rest of the year, preparing for some walking zones throughout the city for next year. And we have continued to collaborate with Safe Routes to Schools. Initial steps that I wanted to report out on is that currently Safe Routes are in the process of creating a student radius map for each school. These maps will help us identify the number of students living within a walkable or bikeable distance from the school. And after the bus strike, we should have thought to talk more about the bikeable, right? The principals are all looking at grants for additional bike racks as well. There's also going to be a district-wide parent travel survey. So just looking, it's supposed to be a 2-minute travel survey that doesn't ask for any personal information. It's just to collect data on how students are currently going to school so that we can collect that data, and it will help with some of our plans. And on the school-wide, school-based level, Whitcomb School will be offering a biker safety afternoon in the spring, and they're going to be inviting families to that event as well. Whitcomb School is also doing their own informal survey for drop-off and pickup. They believe that they've improved drop-off in the morning. I think anyone that has tried to drive down to Union Street does see the big difference. Pickup, they're still looking to make some changes. And then the elementary schools are scheduling walking and biking safety programs for their schools in the spring. Many of them are going to happen during PE classes in the spring. So that's just initial steps that are in process. Thank you.
Questions, comments, concerns for superintendent reports?
I guess I would just say I'm going to hold some of things around that to tie into the transportation conversation if possible. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. The Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Dr. Skaza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First in my report is on the January 21st Professional Development Day we recently held. Our recent January Professional Development Day was split into a morning and an afternoon session. We continued our anti-bias, anti-racist, otherwise known as ABAR trainings during session 1 with a focus on student lessons ranging from pre-K to grade 12. Session 2 consisted of choice offerings that we have traditionally run, covering a wide range of topics that are all related to our district goals and roadmap work. Most elementary educators participated in a Getting Started training on the potential new math curriculum in grades K through 5. On that note, our Go Math program contract expires at the end of this school year, and the Go Math program is no longer defined as a high-quality program on the Department of Early and Secondary Education's Curate list. We have identified Into Math as our likely choice for our elementary math curriculum, and we wanted to take advantage of the opportunity for initial training that we held on January 21st. Although it hasn't been finalized, we believe that Into Math meets the needs of our students and educators and is ranked high on the Curate list of high-quality instructional materials. The new youth mentorship program. Last year, as you recall, we had partnered through Project 351 with the Playbook Initiative. Unfortunately, we were not able to get membership with the Playbook Initiative again this year. However, they have assured us that it is likely that we will be able to rejoin in the future. In the meantime, Yanira and Mr. Soha are working hard to develop our own youth leadership program at Whitcomb Middle School in conjunction with Principal House. So 20 Whitcomb students joined Mr. Soha, Principal House, and our grade 10 Project 351 ambassador, Yanira Uribe Rosa, for the first Whitcomb Youth Leadership Meeting. Yanira held a meet and greet and started off by discussing the characteristics that make a good leader. We are looking to build a program that becomes a yearly opportunity for youth leadership at the middle school level. So Yanira will be holding her first meeting, that's not just a meet and greet, where she will run a workshop with the 20 middle schoolers on February 5th. So more to come. And then finally, Second Steps programming at Marlboro High School. We have expanded our Second Steps social emotional learning program to the high school, and we are intending to present these lessons during advisory and health classes. The high school curriculum focuses on providing students with the skills, mindsets, environments, and high-quality relationships that create a healthy school environment. Marlboro High School is specifically implementing Second Steps as its bullying anchor curriculum, starting in freshman year health class. Through this program, students will be exposed to important knowledge and critical skills like A, understanding bullying, B, factors that contribute to bullying, and C, how to respond to stand up to bullying in a positive way. Lindsay Castro in the audience has joined us tonight to help answer any questions that the school committee may have regarding Second Steps at Marlboro High School. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good evening.
Hi. I just wanted to share a little bit about the Second Step for the high school program, and I think what we're seeing more and more of research is that the bullying curriculums are really targeted for kids from 5 to 14, ages 5 to 14, and after that, it's more about teacher education and around how to respond to it. And I think the National Center for Education Statistics has done some research, and 43% of kids that have been bullied have reported that they've been bullied in a classroom setting, versus only 8% of kids are reporting it on a bus, which to me is like mind-blowing. I would feel like it'd be opposite. But so what I love about the Second Step program is that there are teacher programs and support programs for how teachers can build safe and supportive classrooms so that they can make sure that they are prepared for bullying and are able to respond to it appropriately in a classroom setting. So as the kids get older, it becomes more of a teacher program as opposed to a student-led program, right? So if we're thinking about it of a continuum at the elementary and middle school, the kids are learning the language, the terminology, they're learning the skills that they need, and then as they go on, it becomes more of the adults making sure that the environmental factors are all there to make sure that we are responding or preventing bullying and then responding appropriately, which is what I really appreciate about the Second Step program. But any questions?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and I'm glad to see that we're going to be doing this. As I had reached out to Dr. Skaza, I just was, when I tried to look into the Second Steps program, it was interesting what you were just articulating, that they don't really specifically have something for the bullying curriculum at the high school level. Will it be something, since it's going to be more teacher-focused at that level, is that something where we're going to be having more PD available then to try and make sure that they have like the tools in their toolkit to address some of those things?
Yeah, and we're doing that now through the advisory periods that they have. So some of the lessons that are building up the competencies that we talk about around bullying, the self-awareness, self-management, all those things that like factor into that are being addressed through the advisory periods. So there's certainly that piece of education for the adults and the staff, and yeah, for sure, more PD absolutely around all of these factors.
Okay, and then as far as with the 9th graders, that's going to be happening then later on this spring? That
Right now, this third
is right now.
semester that started
perfect.
yesterday or today, I think.
Okay.
It was yesterday.
Great.
Yesterday, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else?
If nobody else has questions on that, I did have just a quick question around the math, but I don't want to take us away from that area.
Okay, I think we're all set, so thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lindsay.
So if I can ask about the math program, though. So I just found it really, somewhat humorous that Go Math was somehow designated as being, meeting that higher level, and now all of a sudden is not. Because and maybe I'm just collapsing on my time frame, but it doesn't seem like we've really had Go Math for that long.
12 years.
Oh, it's been 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Holy
12
moly.
years. I remember it came on when I started.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is new math. That was just new math.
Well, that's what I was just like. Are you kidding? It just seems so silly to me that we are like, yeah, we're all into it and it's high level, and then goodbye, you're out the door. I mean, wow. I guess
It was
is
on
with
the
all of it.
list when we did implement 12 years ago. It's
Okay,
just-
I knew it was a while. Thanks so much, everybody.
I have a question about the math. Are you still
Yeah,
talking?
no, that's that. Thanks.
My question about the math is in regards, there must be so many programs to choose from. How did you land on this particular new program we're going to get? Was there like a committee of teachers that got to review the different curriculum options, or how was that chosen?
That's a great question. We didn't form a committee, but we did do some logical deduction, if you will. So iReady is the only other K through 5 math program that meets the high standards across the board as indicated by the Curate vetting process. So basically, if we wanted the highest quality that DESE is endorsing, it would have been one of the two. We are not compatible with iReady. We are already using the platform Ed, the digital platform, through our Into Lit and Into Reading programs. The teachers will be familiar. I wish they were still here, but the teachers will be familiar with that platform, the design of it, how to navigate it, some of the terminology within it, and hopefully that leads to a seamless transition. It also speaks to our NWEA assessment system. So there's just a lot that connects there that made it a logical possibility. We haven't finalized a contract, but Houghton Mifflin was courteous enough to provide us with a getting started training in the event that that does happen. So we're getting ahead of it a little bit. It did really come across around the corner quickly. And quite honestly, I thought that they were sunsetting the Go Math program, and it was going to be similar to like Journeys, and now it is called Into Reading, but Go Math will still exist. It just appears that Into Math is a little bit more credible.
And can I just add, grade 6 through 8 is also
Great
into
point.
math, so
Great point.
it gives us the alignment from K to 8.
That's great.
Right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the explanation.
Anything else for Dr. Skaza?
Oh, I just want to give a shout out to, what's her name?
Yanira?
Yanira.
Yep.
I mean, she has taken this project on her own and is developing this whole thing, right?
It's quite remarkable, and I'm glad you mentioned that.
She's amazing.
It truly is student leadership at its finest. She already had a relationship with Mr. Soha, being one of her favorite teachers, so there was an easy connection to have adult teacher leadership meet with student leadership and develop something organically. They've met a number of times. And quite frankly, she was a little let down when she didn't get the Playbook Initiative as her project for this year through Project 351. So this lifted her spirits a little bit. It focused her energy in the right direction. And the end result is something that's going to be great for Whitcomb Middle School and for the District of Marlborough, mainly led by a 10th grade student.
Yeah.
So I would love to bring her back along with Mr. Soha and possibly Principal House to speak a little bit more to what they've designed.
And you had mentioned 20 kids doing it. How were those kids identified, and were they capped at 20, so there were more that were interested that didn't make the cut?
We kept it around the 20-25 because it's a workable workshop model to have that number of students. She was pretty thorough with her screening, I'll be honest with you. I was kind of a little bit more loose, like you want maybe someone who's an aspiring leader, and she was like, no, this is what I'm looking for. And so she essentially conducted her own interviews through that before even the meet and greet, kind of like a screening, if you will, and then she met with everyone who was selected, and she feels that she has the right 20 students to lead this work. They all have their own characteristic of leadership and a lot of potential to do great things in the future. And we're hoping that that kind of permeates throughout the middle school, and other students start to replicate that and respond to that and want to stand up, do good things.
And are they multiple grades? Are they all 8th graders? Or they?
We selected, did she do all? I have to double check on that. Last year we did 6, 7, and 8, but I'm not certain that we did all 3 grades this year. I think she may have selected all 8th grade students this year, but I'll double check.
And one other question. So Project 351 is usually a 7th grade? What is 8th? It is an 8th grader. So the fact that she's a 10th grader and is still affiliated with it as an ambassador, do all of the kids continue to be connected to it once they are chosen?
They do their service work as they continue through the ranks of the high school. We do have a new Project 351 Grade 8 ambassador who I do want to introduce to the committee at some point. That's very new. Superintendent Murphy and I were just talking about the ambassador induction that was held over MLK weekend. So we had Kayla last year. We have a new ambassador this year. We had Yanira, who was the Grade 8 ambassador 2 years ago. So they do continue their work after Grade 8.
I didn't realize that.
And we see Project 351 when we're at the superintendent's conference in July, and there's just a great unit of people there.
Yeah. Just for, people out there, do you want to just explain what Project 351 is?
351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth, all cultivating youth leadership through this movement. Pillars of their organization are kindness, youth leadership, making change, standing up against unhealthy environments in school and society. So,
And one student from each one of those 351 towns are chosen every year.
yes,
It's great.
yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Director of Finance and Operations, Mr. Wells.
Thank you. Tonight we have the food service presentation will be broken into 2 pieces. We have the operations side and the financial. On the operations side, we have the participation numbers available for you. We're keeping very steady with our participation. We're still pretty low at the high school as far as breakfast goes. So our administrative team at the high school, as well as the food service team, are working collaboratively, trying to identify what it is that is affecting that low participation rate, including putting together a survey which will be released to students and asking what their choices are and how they're choosing to do breakfast in the morning. One of the things we do identify a lot is students are walking in with Dunkin' Donuts, so that may be, they have a little bit of cash, they work, they have some money, they go and buy their own breakfast instead of coming and getting a free one. So enticing them to get the breakfast is a little challenging at the high school. We are going to pilot a program of actually getting hot meals up to the door. We have shelf-stable meals at the door of all of our schools for students to grab. We're going to pilot a hot meal as well for that grab and go, to see if we can entice people to grab a hot meal. And if it works out, we're going to possibly roll that out to more schools as well. Just to, Good Now is another great example, like where the cafeteria is so far on the other side of the building from where the students come in. If we can get the food up there, we might be able to also get some higher participation numbers. So we're going to play with that a little bit, and we're going to continue to look at this and try and figure out what's going on with those numbers. So the financial side, when we ended FY24, the audit identified that we had $3.7 million in our food service account. Regulations state that we should not have any more than 3 months operating expenses. For the Marlborough Public Schools, that's approximately $1 to $1.5 million. So we have an excessive balance. That balance represents almost a full year's revenue that's sitting in there. So we have to work towards this to try and figure out how we're going to spend down that money. Now, Marlborough's not alone here. Almost every school district in Massachusetts is facing the same issue. This came about with Universal Meals. When Universal Meals kicked in, you offer free food, and they will come and they will eat the free food. So participation increased. The money keeps rolling in. We're doing a great job with the staff that we have. And we just have to make sure that we're looking at these funds and figuring out how we're going to spend them down. So we have a plan in place, and there's a couple little hiccups around it, but we'll start just kind of talking through the plan, and then we'll go into the hiccups afterwards. So complicating this is that money can only be spent on items that directly benefit students eating food. So you can improve your cafeterias, you can get new equipment, that kind of thing. We can't use that money to provide meals for adults or anything like that. So it has to directly impact the students that are receiving the foods. So it started in probably the spring of 2024. We began with a program of replacing a lot of our older equipment or bringing in new equipment to use within the kitchens. A lot of equipment was installed over the summer. New steamers, kettles, ovens, everything you can look at and say, these are kind of old, let's get some new equipment built in here. Additionally, we did buy the hydroponics machine, so that is up and running at the high school. If you have an opportunity to go by the high school and see it, it is very interesting. They are able to grow microgreens. Right now, microgreens and herbs are growing in there. They're harvesting pretty quickly. Some of these microgreens in 2 weeks they're harvesting and serving it to the students. It's turned into a really cool program around it too. So we have special education students are coming down to help keep it clean, helping to learn how to maintain it. It's really it looks incredible sitting in the cafeteria. It's just very bright and fresh, and you've got all these greens growing with all that snow outside. So it's pretty fantastic. That's another area that we would like to expand upon, and at the very least get one in each cafeteria in all of our schools. Again, and we will harvest those greens and serve them in the schools. But we could also envision this expanding even further into our science labs, so that we have them all around the building, and we just continue to kind of go around and be little farmers running around and serving our own food to everybody. So it's very cool, and it's great. I was in a school district that had them in the science labs, and at night when you're walking through the building, the glow of those as you walk through was it was great to see it. Additionally, anyone who's been in a cafeteria in any of our elementary schools probably walked out with the same headache I do every single time I'm in there. They are very loud. The sound bounces incredibly off the walls. So we're looking at upgrading our acoustic panels within those rooms to help soften that sound down. This is really a health and wellness thing for our students and our staff. The students don't recognize it quite as much because they're young and they heal up a little bit better, but our staff certainly are feeling that. And I know every time I go to visit, I love visiting the cafeterias, but I feel pretty drained afterwards from all that sound just coming at you. So we're gonna be looking at the acoustic panels and getting the sound kind of deadened down a little bit. We are also looking at cafeteria tables. So the ECC replaced all of their cafeteria tables. That's our first one that we move forward with. We're going to be looking at all of our cafeteria tables in all of our buildings just to see what we need for replacements and get some nice new tables put together. Additionally, both the high school and the middle school have patio areas, and we would like to set up those patio areas with proper outdoor furniture. Tables and chairs for food service, as well as to get some coverings if possible over those. And that all can fit into this too, because students will be able, that's part of the food service program, to be able to eat their lunches out there. So that could really kind of add to the dynamic of lunchtime for students as well. We are also looking at some programming that will bring students in earlier and before care programs. That would include, as part of that, we would want to bring staff in earlier to serve breakfast to those students. If they're coming in, it makes sense to bring some staff in earlier, get some breakfast ready for them, and be able to serve to the students at the same time that we're running these new programs. So we're looking at that as well. The next one is the part that's kind of kind of exploded a little bit over the past 24 hours. So we weren't entirely sure what was going to happen with the new federal administration as far as funding goes. There was a lot of rumors about reducing funding, stopping funding, going after grants. Well, an issue did occur last night and exploded during the day today, where the Office of Management and Budget released a memo freezing all funding that's going out. Now, that does not affect our current grants. Grants are forward funded, so FY24 funding is used to fund the grants for this year, so it does not affect the grants this year. But one of the programs that could be impacted by this would be the federal reimbursement for food service. That could be significant for us as a CEP district, and it could greatly reduce the money that flows in if it actually is impacted. So all of this spending plan that we kind of put in place, we have this year. We're going to continue to do the procurements, collect the quotes, but right now we're not going to move forward with some of these things because we're going to wait and see how this plays out, because this money may be needed to support this program as we move forward. So kind of, not good we have the money, but at the same time, wow, kind of glad it's sitting there now. So we can kind of protect against that. So more to come on that. We're going to, it's developing. We don't really know what it's impacting. It keeps changing. Over the next few days, next few weeks, it's going to develop a little bit more, and we'll get some better answers around that. So, but there's a plan that we kind of have in place, so we know that we're going to be able to bring those funds down considerably, upgrade our kitchens, get some work done. There are a couple other things that came up after we actually published this. One of them is we need to replace all of our registers because we have a Windows 11 upgrade. Windows 10 is no longer being supported for security measures, and a lot of our computers run off of Windows 10. So we'll be upgrading the computers for all the registers within the offices for the food service as well. So there are things that we're going to continuously come up that will spend some of these funds down. And it's great to have this money to be able to do these things, because otherwise, we never, I think we all remember back pre-COVID, most of these programs ran in the red. They just didn't bring in enough money to support themselves. So there was never any money to invest within the kitchens. Any questions on that? That was a lot.
Can I ask a question? I just forgot my question. Shoot. You have a question?
I was going to say, I have
I'll
a
think on
question.
it.
You'll
you
think
ask
on
your
it?
question and I'll think on it.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you for the update. Exciting stuff that you're talking about. Love the idea of expanding the hydroponic into other schools. Fantastic, and I can't wait to get over and see it because I have not been able to. I love the idea of the acoustic panels, especially at the elementary, since so many of our elementary schools really are like multi-function rooms. So many of the music classes needing to actually happen in some of those rooms, and knowing that assemblies are happening in those rooms and things like that, because it does get crazy. So that's fantastic. Absolutely love that. And I'm hoping that we might be able to make sure that we're, talking with some of the music folks so that we can make sure that it's really aligning with their needs, music wise, so that we're kind of thinking out of the box for everybody, which you probably are, but I'm kind of saying it out loud,
Yeah, these are, to your point, these are multi-function rooms, so we do want to make sure, if we put so many panels in there that you can't have sound coming off the stage, it kind of defeats part of our purpose of those rooms. So it certainly is going to have to be one of those that we balance and make sure that we're bringing all the players to the table to make sure we understand that we're doing everything.
Thank you. I think that's absolutely fabulous, because I just know, they really are so utilized and need to be able to meet all of those purposes. Just what you were talking about, Superintendent, about how our schools need to function to meet all of those aspects. So fantastic. Relative to the information right at the end there, I'm going to try and think very positive. We need to be supporting our students, and thankfully, I have to say, I'm so proud of our district for the way that we've continued to support our community on a regular basis in this realm. So I'm going to think some really positive thoughts that the powers that be really think big picture about how this needs to support children, and how it's our job to be supporting all. So I'm hoping that we can move forward in a positive way for making sure that meals are available for all of the people that we need to be taking care of. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I did remember.
Remember?
So it just was about the audit that was done.
Yep.
So when they do those audits and they tell us the feedback, is there some recommended period of time that we are supposed to whittle that number down? I mean, do we get ourselves in trouble?
No, so that's a great question, and it is very interesting. This isn't the first time I've had a high balance within a food service account. But usually the high balance is like we're supposed to have, $1 million and we have $2 million. So we're carrying twice as much, but usually there's a reason for it. You're building a new school and you're saving money aside to make sure that you can to invest properly within the building. So there's always sort of a plan in place, and you could always, when that comes through, you could always say, oh no, we know that this happened and this is the reason for it. Or we're entering into a year where we know our equipment is breaking down and we need to carry a little bit more into the next fiscal year to be able to replace that equipment. This is just unprecedented across the board. It's every school district is dealing with the same problem. So the way that the regulations handle it, they haven't caught up with what's going on. So the regulations state that, if you end up in this situation, the state will talk to the school district about reducing the price they're charging.
Oh, we don't charge anything.
Right. So, so that's the solution that's actually written into the regulation. So it's a little, like I said, very unprecedented where we're at, that we're kind of in this situation. So what is that solution as far as that goes when the regulations suggest something that you don't do anymore? So it's an interesting place to be. And again, like I said, probably I would say the majority of school districts in Massachusetts are dealing with this. I had a meeting with my Assabet Valley Collaborative business managers last week. This was the first topic on the list, and nobody had a great solution. Actually, we had the most suggestions of everybody of different ideas and how we're kind of brainstorming things that we can get done. We had a spreadsheet and we were just like madly updating it with information as we went along. It's just hard. Because of the restriction on how you can spend, it's very limiting on what you can do with that money.
Well,
So
it seems like you came up with a pretty good list, and as long as there is no timeline by which we need to, whittle that down, holding on to some of it.
Right.
To
I
wait
think
and
if
see, I think is a wise choice.
if we were to hit the end of this year with the same balance or
Yeah,
more,
that
they
would
would
be
be
a
like, okay, now we're going to have to do something to you. But if they're going to come in, at the end of this year, they're going to show that we made some serious efforts to move forward with this. I think they're going to look and say, oh no, you're making progress. We're not worried about that. So it's it's not one of these where they come in and and throw me in jail for it. I don't know.
What a way
So as long as you're making that progress and moving forward, and these are all great items for progress. And we've kicked around some ideas too of one of the things that I am talking to the food service team about is, can we get better ingredients and do more scratch cooking? So scratch cooking is fantastic. Like, one of the complaints that we hear a lot of times is, hey, do you know what's in that food you're serving? It's processed, and a lot of it is processed. So coming into scratch cooking, you know all the ingredients you're putting into that. So that involves training your staff, getting them trained on how to do scratch cooking, how to do the proper prep, how to do all of those meal programs. So it's really, we have this great opportunity to really transition how we're doing food service by offering a very different meal set to students. Now, you're still going to have the ones that they just want their pizza every day, and they want their chicken nuggets, and they want their tater tots. I love tater tots, so I can understand that. But we do have more developed palates now, and students are more interested in a lot of different foods. So more to come, and if we're growing our own herbs to dress it up as well, it's going to be a lot of fun. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Next item is transportation. The procurement for the next round of transportation completed. 2 bids were submitted, one by NRT and one by First Student. One of the bids, NRT's bid, had a correctable error within it. It was on the 47 passenger buses in Category 2. It was easily correctable within the 4 walls of the bid. They used 120 days instead of 180 days, so we were able to correct that. But and Chapter 30 identifies that type of error as being easily correctable. Within the bid, it represents the per unit cost, so the per cost per bus per day increased by 39.41% with NRT. However, with the bid, we are reducing the buses from 33 to 25, so the effective rate of the increase is about just under 8% at 7.89%. Years 2 through 5 for NRT inflated 16.45% over the life of the bid. First Student was the higher bid, and they came in with their per bus rate at a 42.47% increase over the current year. And the estimated first year, again, for the 25 buses versus the 33, at 10.39% increase. And then First Student inflates over the years 2 through 5 at almost 30%. So their 2 through 5 had a much larger inflation built into it. First Student's bid was $2,783,209 higher than NRT's bid over the proposed contract. And again, the leveling of the budget is the difference between the actual increase on the per unit and the total increase on what the expected cost is for the bid. We did reference checks on both NRT and First Student. All came back satisfactory. We did also look at some of the, we do know that NRT had some transportation issues last year. Very, very considerable ones. And we looked at what those on-time deliveries were for students for last year, both AM and PM, because delivering them home is just as important as delivering them here. And we looked at it this year to see the comparison on a daily basis of what the average was per day. And they have seen, based on the data that we show, was about an 85% improvement this year over last year. So the changes that have been made were considerable. We did a very, as we know, a very different style of transportation this year with community stops. Staying out of the neighborhoods allows us to run our routes longer, get to the schools on time, and have slack time between the end of one route and the start of the next route, allowing for buses to get there, not have to rush to start the next route. Additionally, there have been some personnel changes at NRT that seem to have been very successful. We have a very responsive team over there. And very collaborative. We have a lot of conversations with them, and when we have these conversations now, it's much more welcoming, and we're actually solving a lot of problems as we're having these conversations. So with that, NRT is the lowest responsive proposal that was submitted, and we would, the procurement office would recommend moving this forward for award.
I actually would like to make a motion to table this at this point in time. I'm hoping that we can still have some discussion relative to the situation. So I'll.
What? It's an action item for later that should be tabled, not this conversation now.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
Once you table it, we can't talk about it anymore.
Okay, well then I will rescind that, Okay,
Motion
I
and
will
second
rescind that.
and discussion. So
Okay,
You can't motion. Oh, well, I guess, yeah. Once you
let's
table it, you
continue with the
can't.
discussion.
so from a discussion standpoint, thank you first of all. I appreciate all of the back and forth that you've had to go through and working with the procurement office at City Hall to move forward on this. I'm happy that we at least received 2 bids. There are many districts that went out for transportation bids and received 1, if that. And if anyone's been paying attention, there are some districts that actually received bids and they have pulled back and are needing to rethink it. One of our neighbors is in that situation. I think if anyone's following, Framingham actually just had a situation where the school committee had moved forward with a solution and needed to work hand in hand with the city, and it seems like they're a little bit of a discord. Let's leave it at that. So, so thank you for all that you're doing. I think that we do have some more work to do, although obviously to meet the procurement specs and such, you are correct. NRT did provide us with the lowest bid, but I think anyone that knew this was coming, this is a large number. We knew we were going to have a large number. It was the question was going to be what kind of a large number were we going to be dealing with? And my concern is that while NRT has done a really incredible job working very hard to improve the service for our community since the beginning of this school year. I would be really remiss if I did not say that we did have issues last year. We all know that. And I think our community deserves to make sure that we have done a thorough analysis and that we review all that they're putting forward to make sure that we're as buttoned up as we can be moving into this next 5-year contract. And that's really where my head is I feel like we need to have some more conversations around this. We had to have some tough conversations in preparation for the bid specs to go out because we were going to have to make a reduction of the number of buses that we were going to be allowed to run because we knew financially it was going to majorly affect our operational budget moving forward. And we had to be fiscally responsible about how we were going to approach this for the district, but also for the community. And we know that there's going to need to be some additional ask above from a percentage standpoint. It's not like we're moving forward flat line. And so we have to be moving forward together on finding our solution. Part of that is going to be on making sure that we're considering the safety factors. And that is where I want to commend Superintendent Murphy on how you've really moved forward on that Safe Routes program and taken steps so that we can do a close analysis of how we can have good walking areas, biking solutions, things like that. We're going to have to really work really closely with the police department, with Chief Georgie, with Ted Scott for DPW, and we're going to need to talk about the solutions about crosswalks, crossing guards, things like that to make sure that our community is moving forward together. And I have no reason to doubt that we wouldn't find this, but I think we really have to start our problem solving by us scrubbing what we can in this bid and what they've put together to make sure that we lay out our expectations to NRT about what we're going to need and that we're going to need to move forward together on it, and that we also really have the tough conversations with the city and how we can move forward with the DPW and Chief Georgie on making sure that we're satisfying the safety needs that are on the other end, because those are going to have cost factors too, whether it's hiring of crossing guards or whether it's actually with Ted Scott and the DPW needing to lay down additional crosswalks that are necessary to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our families. I mean, we've already just this past summer, fall, when Superintendent Murphy and Principal Patel and I went to Traffic Commission, I want to say, to discuss the issues that were happening over at Jarrick. And we were able to have a number of officers that were able to get over there, yet we had some discussions around crosswalks that needed to be changed. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe that anything has happened on that, which is really concerning to me that here we are in January, and we had that discussion, I'm going to say off the top of my head, I think in September. August, excuse me. So, I just, we don't have time for that kind of a delay, and we know it's coming for next fall. So that's, just kind of putting it out there. We're going to have to all come together as a community pretty quickly behind the bid, but really working hand in hand with the city council, and all of the counterparts to make sure that we execute as safely as we can. And it's going to be a large number. I just want to make sure that we've scrubbed it as best as we can to make sure that we're all laying out the appropriate expectations across the board. So, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Matthews.
I too want to thank you for the time and effort put into this, because it was not an easy task, and I have many of the same concerns as Mrs. Hennessy. NRT has definitely shown a humongous improvement over the past several years. And I want to thank our drivers too, because they have stood by through all of this, and will continue to, and I get that. You know, they're very loyal to our students. To Mrs. Hennessy's point about coordination going forward, especially with multiple units of the city, 8% is not an apples to apples comparison of what we're doing right now. If we had requested the same number of buses, we'd be twice that. So our first step in only having an 8% transportation increase for next year has rippling effects citywide. And I can't stress enough the importance of making sure we all come together on that, because Mr. Mayor, you're gonna have to put a budget together that's gonna reflect and encompass the entire city and these departments that we all have to come together to make sure our kids get to school safely. You know, and when Chief Georgie says to you, oh, I don't have the manpower, or if Ted Scott says, I don't, you know, I'm not sure how I'm gonna get this done, we have to find a solution. And it's not gonna happen overnight, I know that, but we're behind the 8 ball already. And I think the superintendent understands that too, and I commend you for the getting safe schools in. I know one of our first conversations we had when we came back from the Cape regarding the safe route things was the fact that Route 85, Maple Street / Bolton Street, has 4 schools on it and not one school speed zone sign on it. Not one. And Safe Schools, or they couldn't believe it. Safe Routes was like, what do you mean? And how do we make sure, if we're gonna probably double, triple the amount of kids walking, especially to the 2 big buildings right there, middle school and high school, we gotta make sure that these kids are safe and have the ability to get to school safely. Because they're gonna be the biggest ones impacted, the closest to there. So with NRT, I commend them for the improvements. I hope we have no more disappointments with them. I know there's good days, there's bad days, it happens. But if I were a parent that still had children, I would be concerned with awarding the contract to them again because of the history. We have seen the improvement. We know they're capable of it. We just need to ensure that it's maintained. So that's where I'm at with it.
Any further discussion regarding the transportation report?
The final piece, there is the copy of the year-to-date budget report is included in your packet for your review. We did budget adjustments for salaries. We did a number of budget adjustments for that. Sort of adjusted the ones that we knew very, very easily we could get done. We've had to create some, we had to balance some things around. We had some people in the wrong places. We had to create some account numbers. So we'll have a second round of budget adjustments that are going to happen with the salaries within the next, I would say, for the next meeting probably. And then that should take care of sort of the largest of our budget adjustments we have to do for the year.
Questions?
So I'm just going to ask relative, because this first round that we just had done was rather large.
Yes.
So I would ask that if you've got something coming up, I know that you, per the policy that we changed, that you can move forward with that. I would just love, I guess, a heads up to sit down with you ahead of time, because reviewing it after and having so much on that was a large amount. to have to go through. And I just don't know how that next group is going to go, and I would love to have a little bit of a heads up before looking at everything afterwards, so it's not just such a large chunk. So if that's a one-on-one, would love that opportunity. So,
Sure.
thank you.
Do you anticipate coming forward with a budget calendar at the next meeting?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Because we're all running out of time.
At the next meeting, we'll bring forward a budget calendar. We'll have something to bring forward, but we certainly, we had talked about that. Just couldn't have it ready for now, for this year, this week, but definitely for the next meeting, we'll have it.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, moving on. There's no minutes to accept, so public comment. We're in public comment going once. Is there any? You want us? Nope, I'm sorry. Tony, you have to- Please state your name, address, and your public comment.
Oh, name, address, and what?
And your public comment.
Okay. Hi, my name is Thor, and my address is 5 McCabe Drive. And I heard the superintendent talking about some tours of some of the schools that that were being set up, and I was wondering if that was something that was specific to the school committee, or if that was open to public to come do the tours. That's my question.
For now, it is for the school committee and city council.
Okay.
Public are invited at certain times of the years. Open Door Day is the day that most of the elementary schools are open for parents and students to come in and see the classrooms in the buildings. And there's some community events that happen throughout the year at each of the schools that the public are invited to attend as well.
Okay. Which school day did you say?
Open Door Day, that's a tradition in Marlborough that's rather unique to Marlborough,
Okay.
but I think we switched it to Monday. So the last Monday of August.
Okay.
It is a day that is 2 days before the first day of school, where students and families are invited to come and see their classroom, see their classmates, and look around the school.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Thor. Public comments. Public comment going once. Public comment. Any public comment going twice? Seeing none. Public comment. Public comment for a third time. Seeing none. We are moving on from public comment. Action items and reports. Policies for first read.
Thank you. So in front of you, you have a number of different policies for your first read. They would be IHB, social media, IJB, student extended field trip protocols, ILB, high school promotion graduation requirements, KB, school visitors, volunteers, and then two new policies, which are KBA, volunteers / chaperones for the schools, and KBB, observations of special education programs. So should you all have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Speak now.
The only thing I would ask is if you would just, when you go through it again, gender neutral, so you have a lot of his, hers still in there instead of theirs or thems, so.
Will do. Thank you.
No problem.
And I'll send them to you, my little copy expert person that can review them. How about that?
No problem. Be happy to.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding the policies for the first read? Seeing none?
Oh, actually, I do have one question.
Now's the
ahead.
time.
I have a question on it. On policy KBA, the volunteer chaperones for the schools. A fingerprint background check is required in all schools for individuals, volunteers, chaperones engaged in the following activities. And the second bullet point says volunteer athletic coaches. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to make an assumption. And I know Mrs. Brown is here in the Human Resource Department, but I'm going to assume that every employee of the Marlborough Public School System is fingerprinted, and that includes athletic coaches.
Do we have them?
Do we have?
Sorry, you're not actually at that microphone.
sorry.
Sorry, thank you.
Sorry,
I just
yeah.
realized.
Yeah, so all of our paid coaches are fingerprinted. Volunteer coaches, we do have some occasionally, and when we do, the athletic department lets us know, and we're required to do a query for the athletic volunteers. But I guess the policy is saying we would fingerprint volunteer coaches.
And this was looking at some best practice, and I would say actually the practice that was suggested more from an HR standpoint for the safety of all of our students. We felt that it was imperative that with that type of interaction, and actually if you tie into safe sports, it is something where it is indicated as a best practice. So we felt that it would be something that would be best put into policy, so it was not just something that was on the shoulders of HR to necessarily enforce, but that it was in policy. So that's why
I have no objection to it. I was just wanting clarification
Yeah.
on it because I.
No, agreed, and understanding, and I think that's part of us just making sure that we're kind of like dotting our I's, crossing our T's on everything.
Because again, my understanding too is that the assumption is made that people that are quarried, sorried, fingerprinted, and the reason why a parent who comes to see their child in school is not in that position at all times is because not being left alone with a child in a situation. That's the big thing, where there's a situation where these people may at some point be alone with a child or several children. It's the reason why we want the additional policies in place.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a question that if we are requiring volunteers to be fingerprinted, who is paying that cost? Because there is a cost for an individual to go and get fingerprinted.
So that would be on them unless by the group that needs them to, that they want to
can
shoulder
choose to
that
pay.
cost. That would be something that would be, per whomever they might be associated with. But that is just like for any of the staff members, it is a cost that, it's $35 for that fingerprinting service. And it is something that once it is done and on file, it's there. It's not something that is needed to be done every 3 years. It's there on file. Okay? So, thank you. Thank you for the clarity.
Any other questions regarding the policies for first read? We good? Good? Okay.
So we have to vote, right?
No, it's a first read. We don't vote on first read, right? Memorandum of Agreement between the Marlborough School Committee and the Marlborough School Administrators Association. Ms. Matthews.
Earlier this evening in executive session, the committee unanimously approved the Marlborough, an MOA between the Marlborough School Committee and the School Administrator Association. And I'm asking for a public vote on the same document now. So a motion to approve the MOA.
There's a motion on the table and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns regarding the agreement? Seeing none. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bus Transportation Award. So we had the report from Mr. Wells regarding the bus transportation award for NRT. And if there is a motion to do something with this award.
I'd like to make a motion to table.
It's a motion on the table to table. That almost stumped me. I pulled that out already. So seconded, questions, comments, concerns regarding tabling the table. No? Questions, comments, concern? Seeing none. All in favor of? Okay, motion carries. We are tabled to the next meeting. Next up is acceptance of donations and gifts. First one is Donors Choose, which is Richer School in Wolfram. I think I'm saying that correctly. For $549.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve and seconded for the donation. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor of the donation. Motion carries. Boston Scientific for Richer School for $1,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve is on the table and seconded. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor. Motion carries. FY25 FC 348 multilingual newcomer and homeless support grant for the district for $75,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion on the table and seconded. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to move to suspend the rules to add the MEF
No,
gift to the
There's-
district.
There's a motion on the table to suspend the rules. Seconded. Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns regarding the suspension? Hearing none. All in favor to suspend the rules. Motion carries.
I move to accept the grant of $8,305.53. Mr. Wells, can you just double check that that is the correct amount?
8,354.13.
Oh.
Okay, so that's the amount that we're accepting.
35413.
Yes.
$8,354.13.
Okay.
And 13 cents.
13.
13 cents. Okay. So,
So,
move to accept that amount to the district on behalf of the 6 grant recipients.
correct. So what we're voting is the presentation that we saw tonight, just so full disclosure for the people at home. Okay, there's a motion on the table and seconded. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding the presentation or the donation amount? Seeing none. All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. Reports of school committee subcommittees. Any of them today?
So we just recently had a number of policy meetings. As you can tell from us bringing this forward, we do have to put together another policy meeting on continuing some conversations around some points. So we do not have a set meeting date yet, but I will let you all know. But we're just trying to move some things forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other reports from the school committee subcommittees? Yes, Ms. Matthews.
The negotiation subcommittees will be starting negotiations with the cafeteria and the custodians in the next coming weeks.
Okay. Any other school committee subcommittees? Seeing none, let's move on. Members Forum, Ms. Matthews.
I have reviewed and signed the warrant.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. So I think I'm going to probably steal your thunder, but I just wanted to congratulate the robotics team.
Thank you.
You can tell us a little bit more. So the Team X Squared, I saw on social media that you guys won first place, and I know that.
Yeah, so our team, we not only won the overall skills tournament, but we also won the tournament in general.
Congratulations.
Yeah. All 3 teams made eliminations. Our team made it to finals and won. Not only that, we are now 7th in the state for overall rankings and top 6% in the world.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Can you tell us a little bit about your robot?
Yeah, so this year's game, you have to take these like rings and you have to put it on this like stack of this kind of goal you have to put like the rings on. In this game, you have to put these goals in a corner. And there are two corners. There's a corner that doubles your points and a corner that subtracts the points. So you could either take your opponent's rings and subtract them, or put your rings and double them.
Right.
So there's like an offensive, defensive type play there.
So do you know the game ahead of time?
Yeah, so every game is released in May.
Got it.
And then it changes every year. So yeah, at Worlds.
Okay.
It's held in May. So.
Okay.
And then there's our state championship, which we qualified for, which is the February 22nd at Framingham. So top 65 in the state, and then 14 of them make the Worlds tournament. So
Wow. Where's World?
Dallas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that Team Delta Squared made 28th place.
Yes.
So I just want to shout out to them, congratulate to them. So congratulations to both teams, and good luck at states.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anything else that you want to? No. No. I was very, very proud of you, so I just wanted to make sure that
Thank
that
you.
was recognized. So
Absolutely.
kudos to you and the team. So, alrighty. Anything else regarding? Yes.
I
Mr.
just
Caruso, yes.
wanted to note the passing of Mrs. Joan Tui, former music coordinator,
Thank you.
Thank
who
you.
was a teacher and a friend and occasional non-music director for many things.
Right. Yes, she touched a lot of students' lives
Yeah.
over the years, so thank you for that. Alrighty. She will be missed for sure. Anything else regarding members forum? It's our favorite time. Give it to me.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn is on the table and seconded. Any questions, comments, concerns about adjourning? No? Alrighty. We are adjourned. All in favor? Let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:57. Have a wonderful night, everyone.